Today on the blockchain report, Bitcoin's back up around 115K, and it might be because Japan's Metaplanet wants to raise $3.7 billion to buy more Bitcoin so they can turn their corporate treasury into a full-blown BTC war chest. Trump media loses $20 million in response by launching a utility token made of gems. And CoinShares says Bitcoin can hit 189K if it captures just a sliver of global liquidity in gold. All that and more right now on today's show. Let's go! Good morning, my disciples of digital delusion. I'm Hank Hudson coming to you live from San Francisco, the city where cappuccinos are $11 and your Uber driver just passed the Turing test. It's Monday, the day hope dies quietly behind a Slack notification. Markets are twitching, sentiment's soggy, and somewhere out there on Capitol Hill, a staffer's Googling, what is the blockchain? Now, before we dive into the circus of meme coins, macro doom, and metaverse press releases that no one asked for, role play with me here for a second and smash that like button like you're Gallagher with the watermelon, and follow RoxomTV and me at Hank at RoxomTV, because let's be real, letting TikTok decide your asset allocation is how cults start, all right? Now let's see how the markets are kicking off this week in this morning's Market Rundown. Let's go. All right, well, it's Monday, and we're on the wrong camera to start. We should be on camera 3, but I guess we're sticking it on camera 1. And now we're on camera 3. You guys are sending me on the runaround here. This weekend wasn't super fun. We saw quite the drawback from BTC. It went all the way down to around 112K, but right now we're seeing a little bit of an uptick. Boo, I know, nobody wants that. Right now, though, Bitcoin sitting just beneath that 115K mark. We've seen a small surge this morning. Hopefully, that is the sign of good tidings to come for the rest of today and the week. Ethereum right now currently above $3,600. XRP just above $3 a pop. Cardano just beneath 75 cents. And Dogecoin up 2.5% this morning, sitting around 20 cents a pop. In the world of TradFi, let's see how things are looking there. Pretty green all around, not too bad. Right now, the Dow Jones is up about 1% this morning. NASDAQ about 1.5%, and the S&P 5 sitting around 6,300, a little over a 1% gain in the last 24. MicroStrategy having a nice morning. They're up $15, which is about a 4% increase. Coinbase, they're sitting at 318. Tesla at 304. Nvidia, they're up 2% this morning. And GameStop doing what GameStop does, which is just waiting and watching. They're around $22. We got a lot of show for you today. Next up, we'll be joined by our crypto wunderkind and resident chart shark, Luca Pagano. But we're going to go to a quick break, and we'll be back with him and much more. All right, welcome back to this morning's bull run. It looks like my main man, Luca, is seeing a guy about a horse, so he'll be joining us in just a bit. So let's get going with this morning's top stories. First up, Japan's Metaplanet. Well, they're pulling a full-on Michael Saylor, and not the Bitcoin on the balance sheet part. We're talking full-blown bet the farm, change the DNA of the company levels of Bitcoin conviction. They've filed paperwork to raise 555 billion yen, that's about $3.7 billion in USD, to be used exclusively to buy more Bitcoin. Exclusively, okay? Exclusively. No new office chairs, no marketing, no dividends, just Satoshis. They plan to issue perpetual preferred shares for 2 years. So yeah, they've got a 2-year window to basically become the Godzilla of Bitcoin accumulation. And they've got a goal in mind, 210,000 BTC by 2027. Currently, they hold about $17,500 worth of BTC. Are we able to bring up Bitcoin treasuries here, guys? There it is. So if you take a look here, this of course is Bitcoin Treasuries, the #1 site on the web to check out what your favorite public companies are doing with their Bitcoin stack. So right now we can see Metaplanet is currently in the #7 slot And the really great thing about this website is if I click on Metaplanet here, it'll bring me directly to their individual page on Bitcoin treasuries where I can see all the information I need about their Bitcoin stash. So right now they got 17,595, an average cost basis per Bitcoin of $100,807. Their current profit loss at today's prices is just over 14%. So they're sitting pretty firmly in the green right now. And you can also see how it affects their share price. So right now their share price is $6.83. They have a market cap of about $5 billion. And then you can also see that their Bitcoin holdings make up 44.1% of their total market cap. And they're just getting started, so expect that number to climb here in the very near future. So bitcointreasuries.net, make sure to check it out. Let's head back to camera one. So again, currently, Metaplanet's holding well over 17,000 Bitcoin. That's worth about $1.95 billion, meaning they'll need to stack another 193,000 coins in less than 2 years to meet their goals, which is not a target. It's basically a threat. The raise involves two classes of preferred shares, Series A and Series B, with issuance caps of 277.5 billion yen each. Now, each share includes a priority dividend of up to 6% because apparently you can mix hard money accumulation with soft yield desperation. Now, the scale of this is pretty absurd. This raise equals 75% of Metaplanet's current market cap, which is like selling your own skeleton to pay for protein powder. But hey, at least it's working, right? Their original plan back in June was to reach 100,000 Bitcoin by the end of 2026, and they threw that one away and decided, you know what? Instead, it's 210K or bust. And in case you were wondering if this is some moonshot fantasy, remember, Strategy made over $10 billion in Q2 alone from holding Bitcoin. So yeah, it looks like this whole thing is working. And Metaplanet, well, they're not alone. Over 61 public companies now hold 3% of all Bitcoin in circulation currently. Bitcoin accumulation is no longer a strategy here, fam. It's policy. And Metaplanet is placing Bitcoin at the center of their entire corporate identity. Not a side project, not a treasury hedge. We're talking a core asset, the most liquid, scarce, decentralized financial instrument ever created. And apparently, they want to own it all. So it looks like they're doing a pretty good job up through here. Next up, we got Trump Media and Technology Group. They're back at it, but not for the reasons they probably hope, as they lost $20 million in Q2. But don't worry, there's a new utility token on the way. Yeah, you read that correctly. The company behind Truth Social, majority owned by, of course, our current president, Donald Trump, and now boasting the 5th largest Bitcoin treasury among all public companies, reported $15 million in legal fees tied to its 29-month SPAC merger, and another $5 million in miscellaneous losing money the old-fashioned way. They are suing their own SPAC sponsor and 2 Truth Social co-founders because apparently the merger took longer than most marriages. The result? Well, the DJT stock dropped 3.8% on Friday, bringing the company's market cap around $4.7 billion, which is still surprisingly high for something that mostly exists as a punchline. They currently hold $3.1 billion in assets, thanks in part to a hefty Bitcoin allocation in July. That Bitcoin buy alone catapulted them into the upper ranks of corporate BTC holders. But back to the weird part. The SEC filing says users subscribed to the Patriot package, currently in beta, and it will start accumulating something called gems. And those gems will eventually be tied to a utility token, a token that can be used to pay for Truth Plus, the streaming arm of the ecosystem, and maybe other stuff later. It's unclear what or how, or whether this will actually use blockchain technology, or whether anyone even asked for this. The SEC has punted a decision on their digital asset ETF plans until mid-September, which gives us a few more weeks of staring at filings like this and wondering, is this a crypto company, a media company, or a SPAC fever dream? Either way, they now own a serious pile of Bitcoin. So whether or not the utility token ever arrives, the most functional asset on their books is the one that they didn't create. Thank God, right? Yeah, thank God. All right, next up, what do we got here? Well, it finally happened here, boys and girls. Eric Trump is now a Bitcoin mining mogul. The second son of the president co-founded a mining firm called American Bitcoin Corp back in March. And thanks to a reverse merger with Griffin Digital Mining, he's about to walk into 367 million shares of the newly public company. At a current Griffin share price of around $1, that pegs his stake at around $367 million. But wait, there's a catch here. A recent private sale valued those same shares at 25 cents each. So his stake might also be worth closer to $92 million, which is still enough to fund a lifetime supply of Mar-a-Lago brunches. Either way, the optics are a chef's kiss, if you will. The announcement came around the same time Donald Trump issued his grand vision for a golden age of crypto, complete with recommendations for digital asset adoption and a national Bitcoin stockpile. The White House, for its part, insists there is no conflict of interests here. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt made it quite clear, saying neither the president nor his family have ever engaged or will ever engage in conflicts of interest. Got it. Totally unrelated. Anyway, American Bitcoin was born when a Miami-based firm, HUD 8 Corp, merged its mining assets with a fresh entity backed by Eric and Don Jr. We don't know what they paid for their stakes because, conveniently, the filings don't say. But we do know this. Eric Trump is now the Chief Strategy Officer of American Bitcoin. He has a 3-year advisory contract with zero compensation, which is probably fine when your shares are worth anywhere between 9 and 37 dump trucks worth of cash. HUD 8, for its part, says they're excited to combine their operations with Eric Trump's commercial acumen, capital markets expertise, and commitment to decentralized finance. Or in other words, we wanted access to Capitol Hill. But like, hey, get out of here, Donald, you crafty guy. Meanwhile, in other Eric Trump news, he's telling his followers to buy the dip on Bitcoin, which we gotta say, bold move, Eric, bold move. Especially when Bitcoin is busy belly flopping below the 120K zone, posting a tidy 3.76% drawdown over the last 3 daily candles. So is this the beginning of the next halving-fueled moon mission? Or is Eric Trump the guy who shows up to the blackjack table and bets big after 3 blackjacks in a row? Let's talk context here for a second, shall we? August, historically, not Bitcoin's favorite month. In fact, over the last 12 years, BTC has finished red in 60% of August. I know! It's typically a post-July cool-off where bid depth disappears and everyone remembers that what a weekend is. But there is a pattern here. In 2013, 2017, and 2021, aka the post-halving years, Bitcoin actually ripped in August. Double-digit gains. And why? Well, because those are the years where supply gets cut in half and there's less Bitcoin being dumped into the market. So, theoretically, if you squint hard enough, Eric's buy the dip call might have some halving year logic behind it. But historically speaking, his track record is a bit of a mixed bag. Let's rewind here to February 25th of this year, where Eric tweeted a similar bullish call while BTC was consolidating around 90K. 4 days later, it spiked 6.6%. Then it nosedived to 77K in 1 week. Leverage nuked, longs liquidated, dreams everywhere crushed. And now, BTC and ETFs, well, they're bleeding. $800 million in outflows last quarter alone, the worst since February's $1 billion meltdown. So while previous halving years saw August strength, this cycle is flirting with a macro cocktail of tariff drama, sticky labor prints, zero Fed clarity, and the risk appetite, well, seems to be a little checked out, probably on a beach somewhere pretending rates still aren't high, which means 120K is looking more and more like a local top, not the springboard to 200K everyone was hoping for. So yeah, Eric Trump's call could age well, or it could age like milk in the Nevada sun. Either way, if you're following Eric's crypto trades, you're not investing. You're playing the world's most expensive game.
You are fake news.
The Nepo baby. Oh, get out of here, you! And if you've been waiting for the next reason to believe Bitcoin might launch into the stratosphere again, CoinShares has one for you. A new report from the digital asset investment firm suggests that if Bitcoin captures a small slice of global liquidity and gold's market cap, we could be looking at a 65% price surge from here. Yeah, that would put Bitcoin at around 189K. And no, it doesn't require world domination, just a teeny sip from a $127.3 trillion global liquidity smoothie. CoinShares used the TAM model, total addressable market for those playing along at home, to estimate how big Bitcoin could get if it takes market share from fiat cash, FX reserves, or gold. They crunched the numbers and said if Bitcoin takes 2% of global M2, that's the global money supply, and 5% of gold's $23.9 trillion market cap, we're talking a BTC valuation of around 189K. No need to replace the dollar, no need to nuke the system, just enough relevance to be annoying Jerome Powell. The report puts it pretty bluntly, saying, Bitcoin does not need to replace the global monetary system to be profoundly valuable. A little bit of M2 here, a little bit of gold there, and suddenly Bitcoin looks like it belongs in corporate treasuries, pension funds, and under grandma's mattress. Now, at the time of the report, Bitcoin was trading around 113K, which, if predictions play out, means we're sitting on a potential runway to $189,000 without needing any new technology, memes, or ETFs. CoinShares also said that Bitcoin is increasingly likely to obtain a higher share of monetary markets as it continues to evolve into a more useful form of money. Or in other words, hard money beats soft printing. And while the market currently looks like it's digesting a Fed lunch of interest rate gristle and ETF outflow salad, reports like this remind us that Bitcoin doesn't need everyone, it just needs a little slice of everything. And the next 75K move, well, it could be nothing more than a liquidity squeeze. We're going to take a break, but we got more blockchain report coming at you right after this. Stay tuned.
Security matters. Zappo Bank, the only way to bank your Bitcoin. Apply now at zappobank.com.
All right, welcome back to the Blockchain Report. We are super pumped today. We got a brand new segment with the man himself, Mr. Stephen Big Beat Orr, with our market check this morning. Stephen, it's Monday, the sun is out, Bitcoin's back on the ups. How are you feeling today, my friend?
Hank, we have been talking about the froth and the FOMO in the markets for over 2 weeks now. And, when I said, look, guys, it's an interesting place right here. People are chasing crypto and they shouldn't be chasing. It's an investment. It's your future, right? And I'm looking at the numbers of Bitcoin global crypto users, 580 million out of almost 7 billion people. We got a long way to go. And the runway to get there it's not tomorrow. We got a long way. We're changing how we live and how we communicate and how we interact financially. Banks are hurting right now. They are adopting Bitcoin at the fastest rate, but people are getting a little too over their skis with what they're buying. So over the last few weeks, I had been, bringing a little bit back, stocks a little bit back, those FOMO stuff. And guess what? Over the weekend, I bought Solana back. I bought Bitcoin back. Now I have my pile, but I obviously, as a trader, I want to make sure that I'm part of that thesis as we're going forward. Right now, Hank, we talked about it earlier, man. Think about this: 580 million global crypto users. Okay, so when we talk about that, we didn't have that much Bitcoin ETF adoption in the markets. Today, BlackRock, they can't even wait to have more ETFs. It's the fastest ETF in history being created, right? And I think the integrations now, the government, we have a government now that's very crypto friendly, but institutional adoption with JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs now adopting at this speed, this is why we're seeing a 34% year over year adoption in Bitcoin alone, not to mention crypto. And here's a statistic that I think everybody should listen to. 50% of US crypto holders just in the United States, 50% of them are under the age of 35. So even with the ETFs, even the older people that are putting it in their IRAs or ETFs aren't even the ones that the majority buying it. And right, so what we're seeing is the adoption speed is flipping. It's going so fast to the upside. So that's why it's almost buy the dip mentality. But buy the dip when you no, it's not FOMO buy the dip. It's when I say scale into it. Don't go crazy buying. I mean, I had a guy the other day say, I have $50,000. When do I buy Bitcoin? Today, tomorrow, next year, a year after that, keep buying, but don't put it all in at the same time, right? Put it in a little bit at a time. And I think that's what's making me happy right now. Hank, what about you?
Yeah, no, I think DCA is usually the play. And in terms of, you made an interesting point. You said 50% of Bitcoin holders are 35 or younger, right? So what do you think that means for the adoption of Bitcoin going forward as we have the old guard kind of phasing its way out of things, and we have the new guard who's seen Bitcoin as part of their life now? Those 35-year-olds, it's been around for half of their lives. And we have this next generation that will always have known Bitcoin as something that was in their universe and financial ecosystem. So as time progresses, do you see Bitcoin kind of going parabolic, slowly but surely up and to the right as more of this younger crowd gets money and is looking to put it somewhere that's not in gold and not just holding it in cash?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, we haven't even had a hockey stick moment yet, and I think people when you see a big chart, I can pull up a chart too for myself, but the hockey stick moment in crypto hasn't even happened yet. That's the cool thing about all of this. When people say, "Oh, look, we're gonna have, the Bitcoins. I missed the run. What do I do now, Steve?" And I go, "Well, you haven't missed anything yet. I mean, you've got Tom Lee saying we're going to 250,000 this year. If I told you you could double your money in stocks, right, would you put it in there? Right? I mean, right now, when you see the dip went from 120 to 112. Okay, great. Guess what? Buy some more, right? That's what I'm telling people is that, look, it's not about putting everything into it. I mean, I saw Ray Dalio at the World Economic Forum last year, and he said, look, even I'm buying it. He said to put 10% of your portfolio in gold and Bitcoin. So he's not saying dump everything you have into crypto, because that's not the key either, right? The key is to have a balanced portfolio. And so when you have these ETFs, not even you have to own Bitcoin right out, but think about that. 21 million Bitcoin. How many people are there owning it now? 580 million? My goodness. Right. So here we go. And you
No, please go ahead.
If you add another 580 million to this whole thing, oh my God, all of a sudden, 1 billion people now have Bitcoin.
Right.
In less than a couple of years from now, the price is not going to be 115,000. It's going to be 1,500,000. Right, we're going to 10x this thing, exactly. And it's not correct. But when people say, "Oh, it's going to happen tomorrow," that is nonsense. It's not going to happen tomorrow. And what's happening right now, the reason we're having this volume and this volatility is the leverage. When I tell people don't go into leverage, don't 100x your crypto, because you're going to get wiped out. Why? Because the whales are out there sopping up liquidity. The JP Morgans and the Goldman Sachs that are now in this with ETFs and within the system, they're also going to be sopping up that extra liquidity, the leverage that everybody's got on right now. It's easy money for them, right? If you're over your leverage and you're on margin, you're about trying to buy as much as you can, they see that margin. There's no hiding in Bitcoin. There's no hiding in the blockchain report. They're going to tell you, you can't hide. So they know where that is. But what they don't know and what they can't understand right now is that there are now countries that we didn't even expect to be in the crypto space, like Ghana and parts of Southeast Asia that weren't even in, that are now getting into it. The unbanked are still there. Right? Look at parts of Africa that are still unbanked. They can't wait to get into the lightning rails of Bitcoin. And so when that happens, look, there's a whole level of another billion people that are going to get into Bitcoin. And that's when you're going to see real adoption. Now, you're also seeing a lot of whales over the last few months have really seen their pile really push up. And I don't blame them. And I'm proud of them for letting some of that go, right? We can't have mass adoption if it's all in the hands of Michael Saylor and a few people, right? It's got to be in the hands of a lot of people. It's what makes the United States go with the dollar, right? Because there's quadrillions of it out in the public. Not trillions, quadrillions. So we have to have more than just a few Bitcoin in the hands of a few people, because I'm going to tell you right now, the banks are in serious trouble right now. The ones that did not adopt Bitcoin and crypto right now are the ones struggling to keep those customers, because look at SoFi. Look at the stock price of SoFi over they have totally embraced crypto so that people can have it. Look at the company like PayPal and those they are adopting it. So when you do that, that adoption makes it a whole lot easier to accumulate it. I don't know how to buy it, Steve. How do I buy it? How do I buy it, Hank? Okay, well, open up a Kraken, Coinbase, with Gemini. You name the accounts. That's okay, but then they get confused with 2FA, they get confused. Well, what if I can just buy the ETF? Great, and that's what's happening right now. That adoption is happening at a speed we didn't even understand 10 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. And you brought up an interesting point that I'd love to touch on that's been a real interesting narrative during this, and that's been very unique to this bull run. As you mentioned, Bitcoin is supposed to be something that's for the many, right? Not just big institutions. However, this cycle, we're seeing institutions driving seemingly all of the price, while retail seems to be sitting on the sidelines for the most part. And from your spot at Quasar Markets, and as someone with an intimate knowledge of the markets themselves, why is it that retail's sitting out? Do they feel priced out right now? Because I just have a hard time understanding when you have a lot of people saying, retail's not trusting Bitcoin, but if you look over the time and people are expecting maybe a 10x over the next 10 years, which would give us that right around that $1 million mark, if you found anybody in TradFi and said, hey, I got a stock that's going to 10x in 10 years, they would say, take my money and put it there. Yet, however, we're seeing a lot of resistance from retail right now. From your seat at the table, why do you think that is?
I would say that the case is not that they're sitting it out. They're waiting. They know they already have. They're buying dips, right? But they're not selling their dips. I'm telling people that are levered up at 100x and 50x, you're going to get wiped out. It's just happening on a daily. So I think there's a lot of those retailers that are kind of maybe I would say a little gun shy. They're a little bit worried about, okay, if I 100x again, am I going to make my money? Or they're sitting on a small profit. I'm going to take my profit. They're nervous. Majority of those people that like us, like you and me, Hank, that have been in it so long, I'm gonna sit on mine. I'm not gonna give anybody my Bitcoin. I don't want them to have Bitcoin. I didn't want them to have my Bitcoin at 75 bucks. I sure hell ain't gonna let them have it at 1,000 or 19,000 or 50,000 or now at 120,000. I don't want them to have my Bitcoin because I know that the Michael Saylors and the JP Morgans and the Goldman Sachs are still buying it, and they're taking whatever they can off the exchanges. That's the problem, and that's a good thing. The retailer being smart about it. They're putting it on their cold wallets. They're taking it off the exchanges, making it harder to buy, and that's what's scaring some of the new retailers. They can't get it because they gotta pay up to get it. But when you get these gift horses in the mouth, when you have these little sell-offs, this is not even a major sell-off in a crypto. For those of us who've been around a long time, this isn't even nothing. It's like a walk in the park. It's like flipping eggs, man. This is easy stuff, right? Buy the dip. This is what I'm saying. I bought Solana. I thought over 200. Okay, you're not quite there yet. Now at 160. Oh my goodness, it was definitely a gift. So guess what? Meme coins aren't going away. The rail for Solana is not going away. Ethereum is not going away. So when you find those gifts, take advantage of them, right? Okay, I got an extra $100. I got an extra $1,000. Throw it in there and let it ride. And that's what you're seeing the retail doing. They're not going in there and trying to buy and then sell and try to time the market. You're going to get absolutely obliterated by timing this market. If you can time the market, your crystal ball is better than mine, and mine is still broke, right? But I know one thing. There's only one way for this chart, and it goes from bottom left to top right. So I'm still going to stay long.
Yeah, absolutely. And right now we've seen altcoins kind of make that surge that a lot of people have been waiting for that altcoin summer. Do you think we're officially in the throes of that right now? And maybe some of that could be attributed to the more recent dip we're seeing as people are looking for those high alpha plays. They're taking off some of the froth from their Bitcoin holdings and putting it into ETH or Solana and other coins, hoping to get a little more return in the short term for their buck.
That's a very good question. I've been asked that 3 times this morning, and this is the 4th time. It's a very good question. It's on, I guess, obviously on the forethought of everybody's head right now. I will tell you this much, that in the altcoin seasons, when we've been through several of them, I think 15 of them now for me, in this 16th one here that we're going through right now for me, I can tell you, in the TradeFi era, and then I'm gonna go back 20 years through today, right? The worst months usually to invest is September and October. Well, we might have had a little bit of a pull here in August, but if you look, we're in a bull market. All right, we're in a bull market crypto, we're in a bull market in the stock market, we're in a bull market in everything, and even in commodities. You have to have pullbacks, and some of the strongest pullbacks are in the strongest bull market. So if we don't get those pullbacks, those profit taking, so that we have what I say meat on the bone, so that others can get in and get involved, you're not going to have that situation. So this pullback that you saw on Thursday and Friday was absolutely delicious to me. I loved it. I said, okay, I'm in. And the cool thing about it is the stock market really got beat up, but you couldn't play the stock market over the weekend, but you could play the crypto market. And once the cash market closed, and then the options market closed 15 minutes later, you started to see where the money was starting to seep back into Bitcoin. There was a little bit more of a sell-off. That's great. But we have my friend Howard Greenberg, who you had on not so long ago. He put an order in at 112.5 because he knew that's where the liquidity is, and he was asleep. He didn't care, and it got lifted, and here we go. Now we're back to 115. So when I look at the markets right now, the altcoin season, to me, I have to ask two things when I look at an altcoin. And I think anybody and everybody in the markets, I don't care what market you're in, you really need to look at two things. The first thing is, what does that altcoin actually do? Is it just a meme coin of a frog smoking a cigar? Or does the meme coin actually do something? Does it replicate a need in the market for something, right? You need a lightning rail. You need something in order to make something else happen. Great. Or you have a game, or you have mini games, and you need these other. Great. That's fantastic. And I think, and if you can explain to me in 5 sentences why you bought that meme coin, then you're good. You have a good thesis. If you can't, because it's a pretty picture of penguins. I'm not so sure I understand that. And I like pudgy penguins, by the way. But I will tell you, the second thing I always have to look at is liquidity. Is there enough there? Is it owned by one or two people where they're going to just rug pull you? If that's the case, be careful out there. There are scammers in this market, just like anything else that we do. We've got to be diligent, and we have to understand what we own. It's part of my rules. If you can't explain to me why you bought that crypto in 5 sentences or less, then you shouldn't be really owning it. You need to do your homework. It's part of it. And for those of us who do our homework all the time on these cryptos, and I love RoxomTV for this, man, because you do bring the truth to them and you tell them what's going on, that when you break down what it is that Bitcoin does, what it is that Ethereum does, or what Solana does, and you begin to understand it, then you understand why we're not even in the first inning of baseball when it comes to crypto. We are just beginning. I remember the turn when we started to look at the internet. My father told me I'll never have a computer. I don't need the internet. Don't need any of that stuff. Today, if the internet goes down in the house, he freaks out, right? I mean, and I'm making phone calls. That's the kind of change that we're going to start to see as we start to see the chat GPTs of the world, and you start to see Perplexity beginning to explain to people in a lot deeper understanding and on their level about crypto. You're going to see adoption explode, because right now it's about 80% of the people that are on AIs in general, so I'll say AI in general, 80% of those are under the age of 35. So they're under 35, learning about crypto. It's definitely an adoption level that we have not ever seen on anything that you want to I mean, I tell people a lot of times, and I say, let me show you the world of tulips back in the day. Let me explain to you what happened in Amsterdam and the Netherlands. Let me explain. And when I show the FOMO charts, these happened over days because they didn't have an electronic markets that we have today. They didn't even have phones back then. They had to go to these places where they were like pits, and you had to go to rooms and say, I'm going to buy a new tulip bulb, and this is the new price, and the price would change literally in front of them. So they begin to understand, and as they chase, and of course the market dropped, right? That became the first understanding of FOMO. And so we need to understand history in order to understand the future. When people ask me all the time, Steve, my son or daughter is thinking about going to finance, what do you think? The first thing I say to them is, run away as fast as you possibly can. But if they are indicative of wanting to be in it, great. Learn everything you can. But don't just learn about the history. Learn about how the history affects the future. And right now we are seeing the FOMO hit, but we're also seeing that governments are changing. In the past, governments didn't change the way that they are today. right? They're actually changing the exchanges in order to be able to handle this flow. Option markets did not have zero DTEs 10 years ago. They added them because there was a need for them because people wanted them. So as we see the adoption of crypto and Bitcoin and meme coins, as you asked, the altcoin season, I have to see the adoption. I need to understand the flow as if it happened back in tulip time. How is that flow? How are people thinking in their psychology? So when I look at that from perspective, I go, okay, the thing I need to learn about before, as I go into college or university, those students, right? You need to learn psychology. So now you've applied psychology to your business, your acumen, and now you've attached your financial understandings, fundamentals, and things of that nature. So put all those together as if it's TradeFi, and now attach that to crypto and say, okay, now this meme coin, I understand what it does. Okay, I understand the volatility. I understand the fundamentals behind it. I know how many meme coins there are. I know who owns it. All of a sudden now you've taken normal TradeFi data, understanding TradeFi, and you've applied it to crypto today, DeFi, and now you put that together, and that becomes a portfolio. And now you understand your portfolio as opposed to just chasing the markets because I hope that someone pays more than I spent for it on that Bitcoin, because that's not investing. Right. So I think when you look at companies like Roxom, I love it. The news you guys bring out is telling people exactly what's really happening. So when you look at it from the perspective of what's really happening, now apply that to your TradeFi, DeFi thesis, and now you have a much better situation. So when I look at the future and I look at the Tom Lees and the Michael Saylors, they're smarter than me. So if they have teams of people that are doing their homework, right? I know that if they're buying, then I'm buying too, and I want to understand why. So they tell you the fundamentals, right? 21 million, adoption rate. I should just explain half the data for you. Under 35, they're getting younger, and there's still more babies coming out, I promise you. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't think this is gonna stop. I think you're gonna see it when you go to the Walmarts and the Amazons. They're gonna be accepting your Bitcoin sooner than later. Yeah, I get it. It's on Visa and MasterCard and PayPal and all that. But wait till they take it off of your Coinbase account, or your Kraken account, or your Gemini account. Then when you attach it to the Amazon or Walmarts, then you're going to see adoption just explode. And your Bitcoin ain't going to be $115,000 anymore. It's going to be $1.5 million in the future.
Right. And you brought up a really interesting point that I'm surprised I haven't heard more of. And, you know, it seems like the biggest barrier to entry for people to get into Bitcoin is the educational aspect. We've seen it time and again. Michael Saylor, for instance, was not a big Bitcoin guy until 2020. He did the work, and now he's the biggest Bitcoin evangelist in the world. And with the rise of AI and the ease that it is to get information on things because of AI, how important do you think that AI is going to play in the continued adoption of Bitcoin? Because I think, like, I just taught both of my parents how to use ChatGPT, and they're like, this is incredible. I can't believe that. Believe like all the things it can do, right? So how important are tools like that and like what you guys provide over at Quasar Markets to get more people on the Bitcoin bandwagon by simply giving them access to the information they need to understand it and then believe in it and invest in it?
Yeah, that reminds me of news. The more news, the more understanding you understand of what's happening in the world. I mean, Jamie Dimon, I remember this when he's on the stage, and he said, quote, if anybody at JP Morgan is trading Bitcoin, I'm going to fire them. Within an hour, his daughter calls Jamie Dimon and says, Dad, I have Bitcoin. Are you going to fire me? Look, and now Jamie Dimon and they have one of the biggest piles of Bitcoin now. BlackRock has one of the biggest piles of Bitcoin. Michael Saylor, as you just said, 4 years ago, didn't have Bitcoin, and now has the eighth largest Bitcoin pile. It's when they understand it. It's when the eyes open. It's like, whoa, I get it. I was the same way, Hank. Well, I mean, you know, back then in 2015, I was like, I don't really understand this. You know, I don't get it. I don't really understand what's going on here. But when I got to understand it and I got in deep into it and I began to think about how the processes work and how Wall Street could adopt this, maybe how governments would maybe adopt it, I began to understand it. Okay, I'll take a swing at it. That's what I'm telling you. Take a swing at it, right? You're not there anymore. We're in government adoption. We're in country adoptions. We're in ETF adoptions. I mean, IBIT was the fastest growing ETF in history because of it. That's the kind of thing that I think would the news and understanding of history, right? What was another ETF that grew that fast back in the 70s? Is oil, right? Oil ETFs grew fast. Okay, well, oil is still around, by the way, folks, right? Gold ETFs. When gold first came around, ETFs, people bought gold ETFs. They didn't want to really own the physical because they were nervous about owning the physical. Guess what? Gold's still around. So when I talk about, you talk about TradeFi, you talk about meme coins, that's another thing. Are those meme coins going to be around 20 years ago from now? I'll tell you, I can name companies that are no longer around. Netscape. I can go pets.com. I can keep naming companies that aren't going to be around. But back then they were in the FOMO world. I can go back to Bethlehem Steel. I can't even imagine the name Bethlehem Steel back in the 40s and 50s. That name, no way will Bethlehem Steel go bankrupt. It's bankrupt. If I told you Del Monte Foods was going to go bankrupt, it went bankrupt because people didn't understand the economics of the fundamentals. So you have, no matter what it is that you're buying, whether it's Bitcoin or Pepe coin or whatever, you still have to understand the fundamentals because there may not be fundamentals there to back it up. But in Bitcoin, there is fundamentals to back it up, and that's what's cool. Yeah. Everything that's there is there, and it's actually on the internet. And I haven't even used Google search. I don't even know in at least a year and a half now since ChatGPT came out. So why and the data's there, right? And what's cool about ChatGPT and OpenAI and Perplexity and all these companies is that the data that they're seeing from other people coming in is what's being produced to other people, right? And as agentic AI comes out, as you were clearly asking, agentic AI, hey, I don't know when to buy Bitcoin. When should I buy Bitcoin? And it begins to understand your philosophy, how you trade, who you are, your financial situation, and begins. And guess what? That means the registered independent advisors, the RIAs, the stockbrokers out there are going, oops, maybe I should get into this too. And all of a sudden, this is becoming the fundamental data, and that's where we wanted to take Quasar Markets, was to put all of this together and put it into one place that you can see it all at one time, so that you're not having to go look at 25 screens like I do today. You see me looking around. But here's the kicker. Here's the key to all of this. As we begin to accept crypto and Bitcoin as payment processing, right? So as we begin to understand it, and I walk around and when I'm in Japan, I got to carry a fistful of yen. I got to carry a fistful of euros when I'm in Europe. That's no longer the case, right? And now you have 2FA, protection, security. There's more security now than there was in just a regular bank account, right? I mean, if you think about bank account security, your thumbprint, okay, Apple's a thumbprint. Now you've got to be able to put, it's a call and response. You've got to be able to put a 2FA into it. People are nervous about, oh, somebody's going to steal my crypto. They're not going to steal your crypto if you do the right things. So what you said was, what about education? So it's not just educating them about the fundamentals of Bitcoin, but it's how to accept it, how to make payments, how to put that wallet on your phone, how to buy a hard wallet, how to use a cold wallet, how to hot swapping, how to move things around in your wallets. That's going to take a little bit of time, and that's okay, because the people that do know how to do it are under 35, and they're the fastest adopters of this, right? So by the time that the baby boomers go off, they really don't even care. They're not. And here's what's interesting: we just saw a guy who's been looking for his Bitcoin that he put in the trash, and it went out into the landfill. It's gone. Yeah. Right? So as unfortunately people die and they don't transfer their Bitcoin because they didn't know how to do it, or they weren't even the ones that are educated still may have mistakes. It's going to go away. So it's going to be less and less Bitcoin. They're not making any more, less and less Bitcoin in the hands of a few people. All of a sudden the price is not going to go down. It can't go down unless people just dump it all at the same time, and that ain't happening. So right now, I think this is the best time to be buying Bitcoin. I mean, I bought some over the weekend, like I said, to replenish what I sold, and here we are again. Yeah. So there's three things that I think that we could do to make it better. And I think one thing with the education is places like RoxomTV that we gotta pop RoxomTV to everybody so they understand it, so that happens. They gotta see Hank's face, man. I'm telling you right now. The second thing that they need to do, and I think it's very important, is that they need to understand the people that are telling you this. You can't just take it from just anybody on the internet saying buy this coin, because there are scammers out there. So we need to be able to distinguish who's professional and who's helping you and who's really just doing it for themselves. All right. And the third thing you need to understand in education is repetition. It's not just learning it one time. You have to want to do it and then put it into knowledge, into actual doing it. So in other words, okay, I've learned how to put 2FA, but actually put the 2FA on your phone, right? And if you're going to do it,
Right.
make sure that you understand how it works and how to send crypto around, the QR codes or the numbers or the blockchain number. How does it all work? You got to
Right.
put that into actual data that you actually use.
Yeah, it's absolutely muscle memory, and if you don't use it, you lose it, right? You can kind of teach yourself once, but it takes those reps to really get comfortable in the space, and then you can start making those moves. And from your spot at Quasar Markets, which is really great because you guys are really helping democratize important information from all sorts of different sources so that people can make informed financial decisions just like the big boys do. So it's really leveling the playing field there. Right now, we have Bitcoin at around 115K. Are there any factors right now that you're looking at specifically before we hopefully take this next leg up from your spot over at Quasar?
Yes, there are a couple of things that I'm very interested in right now. The first thing I think I said earlier was that usually the months of September and October are a tough month in TradeFi. You see some of the biggest sell-offs in stocks happening in October. The biggest ones did not actually happen in October; they happened in September, and in our later, right now in our normal history. That's one thing I'm very worried about, right? Is that normally right now, this is not the best time to be investing in anything right now. People are taking their profits off. We call it in the industry, the financial industry, we call it window dressing, right? So a lot of big firms like hedge firms, they need to show that they've got huge balance sheets of investments on, and in Warren Buffett's case, a huge cash pile, right? And he's not
Yeah.
investing that in anything, right? I need to see what's being invested in right now. Let me tell you what I am seeing in some of the technology right space. Here's a good example of this. I didn't think I would ever see it, but Tim Cook actually came out and said, you know what? We've got to start accepting AI. We've got to change our philosophy about it. We've just got to, or we're going to die. I mean, wow. Okay. Apple Intelligence was a nonsense, right? They've got to actually have real AI here, not just something made up in some search engine and, well, it wasn't good enough for us. The world's changing now faster than some of the biggest companies on Wall Street. And Wall Street has realized that. So they have flipped the script and saying, okay, any company out there that's using AI, we need to think about that. We need to look at them, right? So a good example would be Palantir, right? The stock has just exploded. I mean, I told everybody at 35 bucks, kaboom, kaboom. Here we go. The second thing you have to think about when you're looking at the next version of this, what I'm looking for, and as I see those tech companies do it, this is earnings season in the TradeFi business, right? We're looking at that. I'm looking at their earnings. I'm looking at their 10Ks and 10Qs. And I said, I want to understand what are they actually investing in? What percent of their money coming in, that their cash flow coming in, their assets, are that they putting into R&D? Are they building something new? And if they are, is it being used on the blockchain? Are they doing something with crypto? And are they doing something that understands the 35 and younger crowd? Because if they don't, then they're in trouble, right? Because if Apple is not getting into AI, if Apple's not producing new technology, that we now see that the Gen Zs and millennials are now the fastest growing population with this, then they're going to be out the door too, like Bethlehem Steel and Tulips. Right? It's great. It was a great product back in the 80s and 90s. I loved it. 2000 was fantastic. 2020 was awesome. What happened to Apple? It's gone. Why? Because they didn't integrate the new technology. So I need to see that. We're not seeing that in every company right now, and that's bothering me. But the companies that are, what's happened to their stock price? They're going up, they're exploding.
Right. No, absolutely. So right now, we're at 115. Do you feel like we're on track? This pullback was a healthy pullback. What are your thoughts for the end of the year? Are your predictions for what you think Bitcoin could reach as far as new highs during the cycle is the same, or has anything changed in the last month or so for you?
Nothing has changed. I'm still bullish, and I still think by the end of the year we hit 150. That's what I called for. I remember even in my groups, everybody was like, well, win 100,000, win 80,000, win 60,000. I don't know, don't care. right? I know we're going there.
Yeah.
Just buy. There's a billion. There are over 9,000 stocks to buy. Each one of those has thousands of options on it. Futures. I mean, the sheer amount of things that we can invest in. What makes it easier for crypto is that there really aren't that many crypto. Oh, there's thousands and thousands. Not really. If you boil it down to the ones that you actually understand, as I said earlier, the ones that you kind of get and you kind of figured out, hey, this has a real potential. That boils it down to maybe less than 500 cryptos, which is 1/6 of the number of stocks in the markets, right? So when you look at it that perspective, okay, it's a lot easier to make decisions. So I'm not that smart when it comes to buying certain meme coins. Okay, there's a new meme coin every day. But I know one thing: they're all based on Solana, they're all based on Ethereum, they're all based on Bitcoin. Every one of them, no matter what they say, they all is. If you ever want to switch your Ethereum or your Solana or your Pepe coin or whatever coin, in my case, Pudgy Penguins, you can move it back into Bitcoin. So there's the common denominator, right? So when I look at it that perspective, it's like when you go into dig gold, you want to be the miner, or do you want to be the one selling shovels and picks and axes, right? I want to be the one that has I want to be the bank. I want to be Bitcoin. Ask Michael Saylor. He wants to be the bank. And that's what makes it so cool, is that we can be the bank. We are the bank now for them, right? The bank no longer exists in Bitcoin. We are the bank. The blockchain tells us that we're the ones that have the crypto. You want to borrow money and you want to borrow from Bitcoin? You got to borrow from me and you, Hank. They got to do that, right? And in the future, they're going to be borrowing because we are the bank.
Well, at this rate, I'm going to be having to change your nickname from Big Beat to Big Bank, Steven. I like it. All right, Steven, I know we got to let you go here in a sec. Before we do, though, your company, Quasar, does such a great job of providing info for all of us minnows out there so we can actually compete with the whales. What's the best place for our audience to go check out information on Quasar and you to get all of your big beats and hot takes?
No, it's very simple. It's quasarmarkets.com. We have a great website. Just click in there. It's a free sign up. You hit the button, log in, or sign up. You can do that. And coming soon, you'll see it. I'll give Roxom TV here. I'll give them a little taste here. I personally have a new website too as well. You can go right to it. It's called qmbigbeat.com, qmbigbeat.com. You can also see me. Very soon you'll be able to actually get in touch with me. You'll be able to say hello to me, those things too. And I really love that side of it. You get to see my face and all the different things in press releases and places like Roxom that I've been on shows there. There you go, qmbigbeat.com. Believe it or not, there's actually a song written about me now too, so you can play that song as well if that makes you happy. I just saw that the other day. Look, you know what? I think one of the cool things is, Hank, is my background and who I am. Yes, I've been in finance. Yes, I have a great set of parents and family members that I've been around. But I'm standing on the shoulders of great men, people and women that helped me. My mentors throughout my life helped me get to where I am. I did not do this by myself. And I tell you all the time, in life, get a mentor. I remember talking to a senator, U.S. Senator Paul Simon. He is no longer with us, but from Illinois. I was at the university at the time, and he said to me, you know, to the group and to me personally, he's like, if you want to be in politics, Steve, go find somebody that you like in politics and stick with them and understand them and make them a mentor. If you want to, and to paraphrase it to now, if you want to be in the Bitcoin world and crypto world, you need mentors like RoxomTV. You need mentors like us who have seen it, weathered it. As I always say, and it's one of my lines, I'll leave it at this: a good captain is not made in calm seas. You got to go through these pullbacks to understand. So this pullbacks, as you asked earlier, is very healthy. It doesn't mean that you have to go crazy and buy a whole bunch, but make sure that you're in, because if you're not in, you're out. And when the market does move, you're still out. So be in the market.
Amen to that, brother. And Steven, as always, we appreciate you and your democratization of not just information, but mentorship with your new website. So make sure you guys are checking those out. Best place to get more information on what is actually going on in the markets. You don't want to miss it. Steven, as always, thank you so much for joining us in the Blockchain Report today. It's always a pleasure, and we're excited to have you back real soon.
Thanks, Hank.
All right, welcome back to the Blockchain Report. Well, we got our deep dive, and our guest today is a true force in the Web3 world. He's a builder, a strategist, and a deal maker who's helped launch some of the most impactful projects in crypto. He's the CEO of Lunar Digital Assets, the co-founder of QuickSwap, and a key player in the rise of Polygon, and sits on a billion-dollar treasury board like it's just another Tuesday. Let's give a big Blockchain Report welcome to a man who doesn't just watch the future of crypto unfold, he helps architect it, the one and only Rox Zacharias. Rock, welcome to the show. Our audience is thrilled to have you, and so are we. How are you on this fine Monday?
I feel like I'm walking into the octagon. Thank you for the kind introduction.
Oh, you're very welcome. So, Rock, before we get into the thick of it, I would love for you to give us a quick breakdown or version of, for those of our audience that don't know you, how you went from biotech research to building billion-dollar crypto ecosystems. Like, what's the arc you got there? Tell us more about it.
Yeah, we'll try to just run through it quick, but I started a long time ago, 25 years ago, selling digital currencies in video games. So I was selling platinum to Brock Pierce and IG, what later became a multi-billion dollar company that sold World of Warcraft gold, EverQuest gold, RuneScape, all this stuff. So I was selling Brock Pierce platinum, 25 years ago. He later made Tether and EOS and DNA Fund, etc. Then I was getting ready to go fast forward, I don't know, 10, 15 years, and I was preparing to go to medical school and graduated from Loyola Marymount University with a degree in biology and health and human sciences. And then I found the Bitcoin white paper and basically dropped out of my whole medical career after having done surgeries on animals and some testing on some cancer removal techniques, one called the nano knife at UCI Medical Center that we were doing surgeries on animals to test, and PETA was really up our butts on that one. But anyways, found Bitcoin and was a Bitcoin maxi in 2015. Finally, in 2016, I opened my mind to Ethereum and started playing with that. Invested in Tesla in 2017. So found a lot of the early kind of things out there. I'm the CEO of Lunar Digital Assets. We're a venture studio. We incubated Polygon and QuickSwap and a bunch of others. And co-founder of QuickSwap, which was at one point the largest DEX in the world by volume and by daily users. So we had more daily users in the peak of the last cycle than every application on Ethereum combined. A couple other things. I'm a mentor for Tim Draper's Bitcoin Fi Accelerator. I serve on the board, as you mentioned, for the Polygon Grants Ecosystem Fund, which is $1 billion fund over 10 years. And then I'm I am the head of the Global Leadership Council for Michael Turpin's BitAngels. He's the one who helped run the original ICO Mastercoin in 2013 and did the PR for Ethereum and things. No, nice. Yeah. Great friend of mine. I'm here in Puerto Rico. I'm from LA for almost 40 years, but I moved to Puerto Rico thanks to Michael. So thanks, Michael.
Nice. Yeah, thanks, Michael. Well, you've had quite the journey. So let me get this straight. You were in med school, literally dissecting things. You read the white paper. You threw the scalpel to the ground and said, I'm going all in on this whole Bitcoin thing. Is that kind of how it went? Because that is wild.
Close. Yeah, close. So I was studying to get into medical school. I had already graduated, and I was already doing these surgeries in internship type things. So I was working under this kind of legendary surgeon named Dr. Imagawa at UCI Medical Center, and he was lucky enough for him to get me into operating rooms. Yeah.
Wow, what a pivot. That is wild. But that brings you here today, so we're super excited. I want to talk a little bit more about your seemingly most recent endeavor, Lunar Digital Assets. For our audience out there that's not familiar with it, how would you describe what Lunar is to someone who's just hearing about it for the first time?
Yeah, so Lunar's been around. We started in 2017, and it's a venture studio. It's kind of evolved over time. Venture studio, for those who don't know, means you typically invest in projects, both money, time, bandwidth of our team members. We build out these projects. So like QuickSwap, for example. Well, actually, let's go to Polygon. Go back a little further. So Polygon, I met Sandeep at a hackathon for a project Chromia that we were incubating a long time ago. And I met Sandeep at this hackathon, and we talked for hours about philosophy and crypto and what he was building with Matic at the time. Now, it had no test net yet. It was just an idea. We actually came in and helped write the light paper for it. And that's what later became Polygon. So, we built the biggest application on Polygon, QuickSwap. We brought them all their early KOLs and did all their early PR and did, I don't know, in the first few years, 90% of all their marketing and a lot of their BD. And then Sandeep came to me in 2019, I think, 2019, and said, hey, what do you think if I give you're the best marketing and BD team that I know. If I give you the best devs that I know, could you build a DEX on Matic? And I said, I don't know. I've never done that before, but we can try. And so we did, and we gave all the tokens to the community basically, and it did really well and surpassed $1 billion a day in volume. And we kind of built a whole team around QuickSwap. At first, it was mostly our LDA, Lunar Digital Assets, our venture studio. It was mostly our own team members. And then over time, we hired more people and kind of built the team up and let it be on its own kind of. Still to this day, we do all the marketing for them and a lot of their BD, but it has its whole dev team and all kinds of, it's a large team now.
Yeah, and I'm really glad you mentioned the team, because as I was doing my research about you, I saw you've built a team that blends an experienced mix of traders and developers and marketers. Why did you choose to go about it in that way? And what's the edge in that specific mix for you guys?
I mean, I think that evolved over time. At first, we just wanted to build a community platform that was like community first. So as a longtime Bitcoiner and as someone who people often call a Bitcoin maxi, which is kind of funny given that, we built Polygon and ETH stuff for the last 10 years. But,
right.
I am a Bitcoiner at heart. I coined the phrase, I think 7 or 8 years ago, Bitcoin maximalish. So I do have some maximalism a little bit, but I believe Bitcoin is the king. I believe that it is going to be a world reserve first asset and then later world reserve currency. I think we'll split world reserve currency and asset. So right now it's the world reserve asset is the world reserve currency, or you can say they're kind of split because it's a dichotomy kind of system of bonds and dollars. But what I think will happen is that'll split. I think Bitcoin will take the crown for world reserve asset, meaning people will store their stuff in it. And then over time, as it takes that crown, then it'll absorb the currency crown eventually. We're talking, 20, 30, 40 years.
Right.
But yeah.
Do you think that, I've heard people like Jack Dorsey, for instance, who have said that in order for Bitcoin to kind of fulfill its destiny, it will need to be treated as a world reserve currency. Are you kind of on board with that statement, or do you think that it can just be a hard asset like gold and be just fine? Or do you think we're going to need to be buying and spending in Bitcoin at some point in the future?
I was just debating this with someone this morning on a business call. I think it would be just fine, and it would, could easily hit 100 to 200 trillion market cap, just being the best store of value on the planet. But I think for it to truly be money, and this is like debates about what is money, right? And there's lots of experts on this and books about it, but like Robert Breedlove is a pretty good one. You guys can watch the What is Money show. But I think ideally, yes, we become currency medium of exchange too. And that comes second. And then comes the final kind of step to the holy kind of trinity there is unit of account, where everything is priced in Bitcoin. And I think it's okay if we don't hit that for 20, 30, 40 years, or even indefinitely, who knows? But I think it will happen eventually. I think all the currencies of the world, the fiat currencies, will probably collapse. The only way that they don't is if through competition, because of our industry, they start to behave. So when they don't have competition, when currencies have no competition, they can do whatever they want because they have a monopoly on their people, and their people just have to eat poop. I'm gonna not cuss, but they're
You can cuss. We're good.
they basically say use our thing or eat shit and die. Essentially.
Right.
And I think now, Friedrich Hayek in a famous interview with my friend's dad. His name's Anton Blankard, but his dad did this interview with Friedrich Hayek where he said, it won't be until in some sly or roundabout way we are able to take money out of the hands of government that we could have good money again. And basically what he was saying is that by the governments controlling these currencies, it's bad money. They can do whatever they want. There's no real competition, because even if there's competition amongst the countries, if you're in another country, you're using your currency. If you're in the US, we're not using euros, we're using our currency. So they can kind of do whatever they want to us, and we don't have much say about it. But because Bitcoin was invented, more than just the fact that it's better, it makes them behave. It makes them compete. So the biggest, like when people ask me, what's your biggest fear for how does Bitcoin fail? It's the governments actually start having good money again. And they did at some point, right? Bretton Woods, and the dollar was backed by gold. It was a good money, actually. But it's not anymore. Nixon kind of, I don't know, shysted us on that one and took us off, closed the gold window, and, France came with a warship and took their gold. And then I think UK came and wanted theirs. And we just said, no, we're closing the gold window because of these crazy speculators are trying to attack the dollar. But in reality, they just didn't have the gold because they were running a fractional reserve and hadn't told anyone.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned that Bitcoin, just as a store of value, could potentially reach a market cap of over 200 trillion. And if I'm doing my maths right, that would put it maybe around like that $10 million a coin mark, right? Because we're at about 2.4, 2.3 trillion right now at 100K or so. And if it reached the market cap of gold, which is about 20 million, we have $1 million Bitcoin. So you think it's very possible, if the plays out that way, we could be seeing $10 million of Bitcoin at some point in the future. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I would give that at least a 20 or 30% probability. Yeah, in the next, call it 30 years. I would give $1 million a coin in the next, call it 10 years. I'd give that like a 80% probability, 90% even. But if we go that far out, it's harder to predict and, getting to those kind of numbers. But yeah, I think 200 trillion, 10 million a coin, Bitcoin, I'd give it a solid 20 to 30% chance, which is pretty crazy for that. That's a pretty outsized bet, or asymmetric risk to reward.
Yeah. Sure. Well, if that happens, I'll tell you what, I'm going to take my brand new submarine and pick you up in Puerto Rico, because I think we'll all be sitting pretty in that particular case. I want to scale back a little bit. I want to talk a little bit more about what you guys are doing over at Lunar, because I know something you do really well is there's a lot of Web3 projects out there that struggle with getting actual traction. But you guys seem to have kind of cracked the code a little bit. How does Lunar help projects go from this is a great idea to actually having real users and real volume?
I think part of our magic, one, it's just we've been around a long time. So at LDA, we have about 45 team members. And then if you combine all of our various like portfolio companies and things that I'm involved in, like BitAngels and, Polygon grants and all this stuff, we've probably got 120 or more people that we could call upon when we need, support, intros, when we're trying to get to someone. So I think we've done a good job at building our network in the industry and understanding what works and doesn't work, which is, partially from our successes, but even more from our failures. We've had lots of projects. We've had 3 unicorns and we've had a lot of successes, but it's actually the failures that you learn the most from. On top of that, I think it's good actors are a little bit of a rare commodity in our industry, unfortunately. And I think that, I might strike a chord with some people, but like when we saw the Solana meme coin stuff happen, I think that was it kind of exposed our industry for who we really are. That we're a lot of gamblers and people that are more willing to be PvP and try to like take from someone else, and that's how you make your money. And that's, I mean, that's just gambling, right? I'm not saying that like you're a terrible person. Everybody involved in that situation knows what they're getting into for the most part, other than the people that are kind of tricked into like thinking it's the future and really you're just gambling and, you know, rugging people. But anyways, so it's like, I don't think these are terrible people, but I think it just showed that our industry wasn't so much about decentralization. And there's a lot of people that would drop that whole charade once there was money to be made in anything, and it doesn't matter what that thing is. So that's just part of my broader point, that it's hard to find good actors in our industry, people who've proven themselves over the years and who have like done the right thing when the times were hard. So like as an example, with QuickSwap, as a co-founder, I've never sold a single token, and I didn't understand tax as well, so I actually didn't file like an 83B or set myself up properly with that. So I actually had to pay taxes on all that, even though I never sold it and probably never will sell it. Oh, wow. And so, and also from the QuickSwap Foundation, I mean, in our first year of QuickSwap, we generated 100 million in revenue for all of us, our various, it's not a legal word, don't take it as that, SEC, not that we're as worried, I guess, these days, but for our kind of shareholders, you could call it, whether that's, you know, the users of the platform, the stakers, the quick holders, all that. We generated 100 million in revenue, and still it's been now 6 years of QuickSwap, and I've never taken $1 personally from QuickSwap. I've rejected any kind of payment. And then, you know, there's other projects. I mean, all of our pull from Polygon from our early days of that, we haven't sold any of it. Another project, Persistence, we incubated in the Cosmos. We haven't even asked for the tokens from the founder yet, and it's been like we worked with them for 3 years, and we've been not working with them for 2 years. So like, I think we've kind of proven that we're here for the community, and we're here for the long term, and I think that helps a lot. It opens a lot of doors for us.
Yeah, I mean, there certainly are benefits of being one of the good actors in the space. And I kind of want to get back to something you mentioned about learning from your failures. And as someone who's been doing it the right way now for some time, what's one of the most misunderstood parts you find of launching a token or a protocol that founders are consistently getting wrong, but you've learned how to go about it the right way through your own failures in the past?
Well, I would say one unfortunate part of the industry, and I'm biased here as we do marketing for companies, but one unfortunate thing I found is that I think a lot of people think if you have really good technology, it's like a field of dreams thing where if you build it, they will come, but it's just not the case. So unfortunately, I think marketing in this industry is probably more important than tech at a lot of the times, at a lot of the, at least the stages of a startup. So you can have great tech, but you better be able to tell the story and tell it in a way that you can inspire kind of people to use it, to invest in it, and all of the above. Otherwise, you know, it doesn't matter how good the tech is, you know, you might not get anywhere.
Yeah, you know, I think that's something that goes oftentimes even outside of this industry. I mean, look at Fire Festival, right? Great marketing, no utility. And that's unfortunately the way of the world sometimes, is great marketing trumps something that actually doesn't really do anything, or does do something. But if you can't market it right, then, well, no one's going to know about it in the first place. I want to talk a little more about Lunar. You guys do everything from algorithmic trading tools to tokenomics consulting. What part of that stack do you feel is
Where did you find that? That's old.
Most critical. I've looked at a lot of stuff.
The algorithmic trading
that's all
is
news.
like, that was like 10 years ago. Yeah, we don't do that anymore. But that was,
you don't do it. Well, I'm glad to
nice,
hear
that. A nice a failure that we learned a lot from, actually. That was one of our. So we were taking revenue from our incubating and our marketing, and we were funneling it into building these trading algorithms and trading tools. And we had Nomura Holdings in Japan, wanted to white label our strategy, and our CEO at the time basically it was so much pressure. He had a nervous breakdown and left the company, left us with a bunch of debt actually. And a lot of our executives and team members left, and I decided to rebuild the company. People had been asking me to take over as CEO actually for a long time, but I was loyal and I didn't want to take the position since he brought me in as founder. But he left. I made all the investors who he had lost some of their money, I made them all whole. I personally gave them my own money and said, we're rebuilding the company. And now those are huge allies of ours. But yeah, that I learned a lot about that. I mean, trading algorithms, bots, tools is a really, really hard business and super cutthroat. And so I'm glad I'm not involved in that business anymore. But we are looking at investing in a company that does that. And now with the AI stuff happening, I think there's going to be a whole new kind of era of these kind of trading tools and algorithms and stuff. I think AI is going to really put a big spin on that. Now, we've already had AI or algorithms, what is like the old AI in trading for 40 years. People have been doing that. But now using these new systems, these large language models and all this new era of AI, I think we're going to see like, I think these are going to kick the butts of a lot of traditional traders and make trading even harder for regular people. I don't suggest anybody trades, to be honest. Only less than 5% of traders make money. They mostly lose. And that's coming from someone who I've built multiple perpetuals platforms, one of the biggest dexes in the world, and stuff like that. And I generally tell people, don't trade. You're gonna lose your money most likely.
Yeah, absolutely. And with AI becoming just ever present and necessary, it seems like, especially with trading, what tools are you building at Lunar Labs for traders, and how do those stand apart from what's already out there currently?
So yeah, Lunar Labs is part of that old defunct section of our company that's no longer around. So we're not building it.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not building any of that anymore.
Now
we're focused
on. What kind of
on.
stuff are you looking at with AI though?
Oh, with AI, so yeah, we've got a few companies we're looking at right now for AI. One interesting one is called AI Quant. This is the one that's doing this this AI trading type stuff. They're pretty interesting. I'm going to probably start by just putting, I don't know, low six figures into their trading algorithm and just see how it works for me personally before we decide to invest in them as a company. But that's an interesting one. I have no vested interest there. It's just an interesting one that we're looking at. Another one is Tachi, which is probably too complicated to explain here, but it's essentially like a way of doing kind of layer 2 type stuff on Bitcoin through these meta layers. It uses it's an iteration of Lightning Network technology, and it could bring a lot of AI capabilities to Bitcoin. Very interesting team. Again, I actually have no vested interest in that. We're not incubating them nor investing in them yet, but we likely will. Still finishing TD there. But what else in the AI segment? Oh, Lusa, another one that we're not in yet, but probably we'll get into. I kind of prefer not shilling the stuff we are in, because then it's just shilling. But Lusa is a very interesting one by Dr. Adele and some other really big people. They have a $700K grant from NVIDIA. They're part of the, I think, NVIDIA Inception program. It's basically AI gaming platform. So you can build games using AI, and they've got a bunch of PhDs and pretty high-level people. They've got grants from, I think it's NVIDIA, Google, Microsoft. I think they've got like 2 million from Google and Microsoft. These are mostly credits, so for computation. So it's not hard cash, just for disclaimer, but still pretty impressive. Yeah, that's an interesting one. But we haven't made our big plays in AI just yet, really. We've been kind of looking at the field. We're not experts in AI, so something, we're still wrapping our brains around. I think most people are. But we weren't experts in DEXs either when we launched QuickSwap, and it became the biggest DEX in the world. So I think, there's a lot of things in this industry where if you understand the industry, you can get into other verticals and figure them out.
Yeah, I mean, we all start as novices at some point, right, and build our way to being an expert. You did mention earlier when we spoke, you have something going on with layer 2s. Could you expand on that and what you guys are doing with that for me real quick, please?
Yeah, so we built the biggest ETH L2 Polygon. and not the biggest now. There's a lot of competition there, but they're still in the top for most categories. Like in gaming, they have like 2 of the top 5 gaming chains with the Polygon POS chain plus immutable ZKVM, which is part of their ag layer. And so we're building now a Litecoin layer 2 we're incubating. We've been building this for like a year and a half, actually, and it has support and endorsement officially from the Litecoin Foundation and Charlie Lee, which is pretty cool. So it's the first ever Litecoin layer 2, if we get everything out in time. We announced this at Litecoin Summit recently. The Litecoin Foundation asked us to come and present there. And now, actually, since we announced it, there's a couple other Litecoin layer 2 type plays that are announcing. So I think we're kind of creating a little bit of a meta there, which is great. I think that's a good sign. It validates our thesis that there's a product market fit there. And so I guess you could look at this a little bit like Michael Saylor with MicroStrategy. You know, he launched MicroStrategy and then he went and encouraged everybody else. He does whole conferences teaching people how to launch competitors to his thing. And I think that's, you know, the more people that join an ecosystem, the stronger the ecosystem gets. And if you're confident that you're the number one in the ecosystem, then you actually want to encourage more people to come into the ecosystem. So like if you're ChatGPT and you're confident that you're number one, which I don't know that they are, but just as an example, you actually want lots of other people to come in and start building an AI because it strengthens the AI thesis. And so same with us, we're welcoming these, like, for example, Bitcoin Computer is now coming to Litecoin after we announced. They had announced that they wanted to do something there, but now it's getting more meat on the bone. So we are supportive of them. And we're supportive of drive chains. So Bitcoin drive chains are actually coming to Litecoin now. And there's a bunch of other cool stuff they have. I mean, we're seeing this Litecoin meta unfold, which we thought I would have given it like a 5 to 10% chance that it would happen or that we would kick it off. But now I think that's up to like 60 or 70% as we see. So Luxfolio is one of these MicroStrategy Litecoin plays. They're a great team, really excited for what they're doing. And then they were the front runner or the first mover in the Litecoin MicroStrategy plays. And now we saw MEI, a pharmaceutical company, come out and raise 100 million to buy Litecoin. And then like 2 days later, raised another 100 million to buy Litecoin. And so I think we're seeing this meta start to form around Litecoin. It's an OG coin, or some might call it a dino coin. And it's been kind of a pet rock for some time, like Bitcoin, except for that it has lots of payments being used on it. I just saw a study this morning or an analytics website that showed that Litecoin was the second largest payments crypto in the world. Oh, someone's calling me. Ooh. Let's try to get my thing back. There we go. Okay, so payments. So yeah, Litecoin is being used heavily in payments. I mean, more than on some analytics and on some days, more than USDC. So it has a massive community. There's a reason it still ranges between top 19 to 21 on CoinMarketCap. And it's one of the oldest coins in the world. It was one of the first like 5 coins ever launched. Maybe it's like top 3, you could argue, but some people argue whatever technicalities. But anyway, so I think it's crazy that it doesn't have a layer 2. And so we're building the first one, and we have the support of Charlie Lee. He's given official quotes to the media about it. He just mentioned it on Altcoin Daily the other day. I set up that interview. And all this stuff is all unpaid. We've paid no one to talk about it, and it's got massive engagement from the community. A community of Litecoiners that I did not know existed in this form. I did not know that Litecoin had hundreds of little mini KOLs and massive, just fans. I mean, I always knew the Litecoin community was big, but it wasn't until we started building in it that I was like, holy shit, these guys are like really waiting for someone to build something on Litecoin. And yeah, hopefully we can do it in a good way. And we actually have someone from the Litecoin Foundation on our governance board to oversee 51% of the tokens are being given to the community. And he'll be overseeing that governance board and making sure that everything we do is aligned with the Litecoin ecosystem and ethos.
Nice, we love to hear that. And Rock, I know it's a busy Monday and everybody's got a lot to do, so I'm gonna give you one last one. For our audience out there, or someone listening who wants to get into Web3 or build something meaningful, where do you think the best place for them to start today is?
Yeah. I've told people this a lot over the years. Actually, a good friend of mine, just his good friend, she was wanting to get into the industry. She just graduated, and it's a hard one to get into, especially I mean, like the way I'll tell you how I did it. I just studied as much as I could every day. And I became, trying not to be cocky, but I became one of the smartest people in the room just about understanding this stuff. And when LDA actually came to me and wanted me to be a co-founder, they were like, we don't know what you're going to do at LDA or frankly, what we're going to do, but we really want you. You really get this stuff. And so I would just say, study the hell out of it. Like spend hundreds or thousands of hours studying this industry and which vertical maybe speaks to you, whether it's, DeFi or AI or, NFTs, art, RWAs. There's all these different verticals, gaming, and kind of figure out what stands out to you and what you want to be involved in. And then just learn more than anyone else. And you can join, like, one little easy kind of hack is join some ambassador programs. There's lots of great projects that have either unpaid or paid ambassador programs, and you can get into those. And if you're a big fan of a project and you're out there, singing the praises of this project and educating people about it, then there's a pretty good chance that the team could either hire you or you'll get to meet the team and just kind of get your foot in the door. Just be the I don't know, this was what I did. Maybe other people have different ways, but it's just try to be like the smartest person about some area of crypto, and then people will want to work with you. And do the right thing too. Try not to think short term. Try to join projects you believe in. That's what we did, and I think that really got us far. I think there's a reason that they put me on the board for Polygon's grant program, is because they knew I was a good actor, and why Michael Turpin, who you said you had on your show, made me the head of his global leadership council, and all this stuff is just like do the right thing. And there's going to be lots of times, in 2018, in the depths of the bear market, we had projects coming to us, and one project offered us $35,000 a month, and we were broke. This was around the time when that stuff happened that I mentioned earlier, where the old CEO lost a lot of people's money and stuff, and I had to pay all these people back with my my savings from being in crypto for so long. But a project came to us and wanted to give us, I think it was $35,000 a month. But we looked at it and I was like, this does not look good. This could be a scam. I don't want us to get involved in this. And a lot of my team members were like, Rock, what are you talking about? We have no money. We have to take this client. Yeah. And I said, I'm sorry, we're just not doing it, guys. And I forgot, during that time, I actually took no pay and let all the other team members have pay for like 6 months. Then I took pay and I donated half of it to the team. And, so I led myself by saying, look, guys, I'm going to feel the pain too. But we're not taking some potential scam project. And so, we landed Matic, I think, later that year. And it was a good thing. We worked with projects we believed in. And so people believe in us.
Well, I love to hear that, Rock. I mean, in a world full of bad actors, it's nice and refreshing to hear someone with integrity out there that truly is one of the good actors in the space, and I'm sure that has resonated deeply with a lot of our audience. So before we let you go, if people in our audience are like, hey, I like the cut of Rock's jib, I want to learn more about what they're doing over at Lunar Digital Assets, what's the best place I can send them to get more information?
Just lunardigitalassets.io. lunardigitalassets.io. If you're interested in the
Lit VM, follow to get your takes.
It's at Crypto Rocky. I was an MMA fighter in my young years.
No way! We actually had Kenny Florian on the show a few months ago.
No way!
You guys are pals.
Oh wow! Oh yeah, that's an older game. Yeah, I think some of my friends trained with him actually. Yeah,
Very
cool. Ken Flo.
Small world.
They used to call him Ken Flo, I think, right? Yeah. Nice.
I think that resonates. Yeah, I think we might have talked about that in our time together. But Rock, I got to say, it was an absolute blast having you on the show today. Thank you so much for your time and expertise. And, if next time you guys have something big coming up, we'd love to have you back. We can talk about it on the show because you were an absolute blast.
Yeah, and check out a good one is the Lit VM that we talked about, the Litecoin Layer 2. It's at Litecoin VM, at Litecoin VM on Twitter. And I think it's just lithium.com, but you can check that out. We're actually raising for that right now. We're about a third of the way through our raise. We're raising 5 mil at 50 mil valuation. And we'll TGE that in actually the relative near future. That's part of the reason I'm mentioning this one is like a kind of current meta thing. So we'll probably be TGing that in the next like 4 to 5 weeks.
Love to hear it. Well, cheers to the future successes of all your current projects, Rock, and enjoy the rest of your week, my friend. Thanks again for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. And if you guys don't have any, you better hold some Bitcoin, at least a little bit.
Wise words from one of the good actors. Listen up, gang. Thanks, Rock. Cheers. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back. More blockchain report. Right. Yeah, pleasure is ours. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back for some more of today's bull run. Next up, we got Arthur Hayes is back in the news, and he's got a new thesis, and it's not exactly subtle. President Trump's wartime economic policies could drive Bitcoin to 250K, because apparently nothing pumps your bags quite like fascist industrial policy. Hayes says the U.S. is now operating a kind of QE for poor people by handing out government-guaranteed contracts to private industry instead of just printing money. As example, the Defense Department guaranteed a rare earth company a price double the Chinese market rate. Then JP Morgan and Goldman backed a $1 billion loan. So yeah, this is how you stimulate the economy without actually calling it a stimulus. Now, according to Hayes, when the credit flows, Bitcoin tends to fly. He tracked the data. Credit doubled since January of 2020, and Bitcoin, it went up 15x. He believes this new industrial strategy will flood the economy with liquidity, and a chunk of that liquidity is going to find its way to Bitcoin. Why? Well, because if you're staring at inflation, geopolitics, and a printing press disguised as patriotic capitalism, Bitcoin starts to look like a lifeboat. But wait, there is more. Hayes also claims stablecoins complete the loop. As the crypto market cap grows, money flows into stablecoins like Tether, which then buy U.S. Treasury bills. That means crypto success actually helps fund U.S. deficits. Who knew crypto bros could be so patriotic? Hayes says for every $1 in crypto market cap growth, 9 cents goes into stablecoins. Scale that to a $100 trillion market cap, and that's $9 trillion in free T-bill demand. His fund, Maelstrom, is fully invested in crypto. He's even bullish on Ethereum, which he says is beloved by Western institutional class. His targets by the end of the year, Bitcoin to 250, Ether to 10K. Might want to keep that clip handy for December. He admits this could create inflation, but he argues it'll show up in asset prices, not food or rent. Because nothing says financial stability like your grocery bill staying flat while your JPEG collection quadruples. So the bottom line here is Hayes is betting that war, debt, and government contracts are rocket fuel for Bitcoin. It's weird, it's cynical, it's kind of genius, and it might actually be right. All right, next up, bullish and bearish. Let's wrap it up. Let's play the stinger here, boys. All right, gang, it's that time of the show where we go over our top stories again and decide if they're looking good, bad, or otherwise for our beloved Bitcoin. Again, first up, Metaplanet. They have filed to raise 555 billion yen or $3.7 billion via preferred shares, all to buy Bitcoin and push its holdings from just over 17,000 to 210,000 by 2027. Obviously, I'm bullish on this. When a publicly traded company wants to convert 75% of its market cap into Bitcoin, that's not a signal, that's a siren. This kind of institutional accumulation pressure, if followed through, creates long-term buy-side demand that could drive price upward over time. I mean, Metaplanet is turning its entire balance sheet into a Bitcoin magnet, and we're here for it, so I'm bullish. Next up, Trump Media lost 20 mil last quarter and is responding with a new utility token tied to its Patriot Package subscription service, but it's unclear if it even uses the blockchain. News. Hey, get out of here. I'm calling BS, all right? The company's massive Bitcoin holdings are the only thing keeping this story remotely relevant to price action. Boo yourself, but a vague gem token without utility, clarity, or infrastructure? Get out of here. That's a distraction wrapped in a lawsuit. This has no meaningful impact on Bitcoin's price now or later. I'm calling BS, and I just spilled my water, and we're just scooping it away from the laptop here. Last one, we have CoinShares says if Bitcoin captures just 2% of global M2 and 5% of gold's market cap, it could surge 65% from current levels, landing around 189K. I mean, that's bullish, baby. This isn't hopium, it's math. The TAM model shows that Bitcoin doesn't need to replace fiat or gold, it only needs to nibble at them. Increased global liquidity and inflation hedging trends make this scenario more likely than ever. 189K is only a liquidity squeeze away. That rhymed, and I didn't mean for it to, but I like it. So, final score. We have 2 bullish, 0 bearish, and 1 BS, which means today's verdict is bullish. 2 of the 3 stories today point to serious institutional accumulation and growing macro support for Bitcoin. Whether it's corporate Japan going full maxi or macro models pointing towards 6-figure valuations, the tide feels upward and to the right, baby. As always, thanks for watching the Blockchain Report. Make sure to like, follow, and subscribe to RoxomTV and yours truly at Hank at RoxomTV on all platforms. And I'll see you degenerate boys and girls tomorrow for more. Until then, stay strong and hodl on.